In the last class, we have started discussing about silicones. Silicones were first prepared by F.S. Kipping, and they are simply prepared by hydrolysis of alkyl substituted halo or chlorosilanes. Alkyl substituted chlorosilanes. In them, chlorine acts as a good leaving group. So we can easily replace this chlorine with the incoming nucleophile. It may be a water. Now, when we replace this chlorine, we will get OH. We will get one OH. And this, in this OH, this oxygen can again act as a nucleophile. This oxygen can again act as a nucleophile. So it will react with one more chlorosilane so that it generates a dimer which is bonded to oxygen. So this is the limit, right? When there is only one chlorine and silicon, we can get a silicone containing two silicon units. But if we have two halogens, then unlike carbon compounds which will generate ketones or aldehydes and ketones, but silicones will never generate such type of compounds. Instead, they will undergo polymerization to generate long chains of molecules. Here we have two silicones. So initially, here we have two halogens. So initially it generates two hydroxy groups on the silicon by replacing these two halogens. So we have two active OH groups. Then this side, this oxygen will react with another silicon, and this oxygen will react with the other silicon. So in such a way, what we can do, we can develop a long chain of carbons so that we can have a polymer possible here. So in order to get a long polymer, we must have at least two halogens on the silicon. Now, if we add a mixture of dichlorosilane and monochlorosilane, what will happen? Based on the ratio of monochloro and dichlorosilanes, monochlorosilanes will act as end capping agents. So this is one of the example application for silicones, right? So these will act as the end capping reagents when they bind to other silicon. Because monochlorosilane is having only one chlorine, it can form only one bond with silicon, and other side it is having methyl group, so it cannot form bonds on other side. So that means it will stay at one end of the long polymer chain. So that is why it is called end capping agent, and the chain grows on the other side. So based on ratio of monochloro and dichloro, the chain length will depend. So this we have discussed in the last class. Now we will discuss about the hydrolysis of trichloro monoalkyl silanes. What is the product here? Here we have three chlorines in the same molecule. That means these three chlorines can be replaced with OH groups. These three chlorines can be replaced with OH groups. So there is a large possibility or a greater range for this molecule to undergo polymerization in a three-dimensional fashion. It undergoes polymerization in a three-dimensional fashion. So this side it will undergo polymerization, on this side it will undergo polymerization. Similarly, this side also it will undergo polymerization. So here it generates a complex molecule of this type. There is only one methyl group. So we can generate a complex molecule of this type. It is just a model compound. Okay, you can take the structure. So this is a complex cross-linked. Not only these things, under careful controlled conditions, controlled means careful. Hydrolysis produces cyclic structures. Hydrolysis produces cyclic structures. So we can synthesize this is a trimer. When we have two halogens on the silane, we can get a 6-membered ring. This is tris. Cyclodimethyl siloxane. We can also get large membered rings. This is a tetramer. So its name is tetrakis cyclodimethyl siloxane. So these type of structures are also possible under controlled conditions. Now, you see, once the silicon is generated, is there any possibility to add more number of oxygens? Look at the properties of silicones. Silicones are mostly used as fluids, oils, elastomers, and resins. But only thing is they are expensive compared to their counterparts of organic compounds like carbon compounds. Initially, silicones are developed as electrical insulators because they are more stable to heat than organic polymers. Mostly silicones are non-conductive. Because of that, they were developed as insulators. Not only that, they also possess heat resistance properties. It is stable to little high temperatures also. So that is why it is used as insulators. And recently they were most you might have seen an ad like heat resistant electrical cables. Havells or some other company, I did not remember. A mother used to cook chapati, and this but she used to get hurt due to the heavy temperatures of cooking, right? But this fellow used to go there and pick some wire, and he gives that wire to her mother, and he ask her to use it as a supporter, right? So that means it acts as a heat resistant material, and it does not catch fire, right? Why it does not catch fire? What will happen when we try to burn something? When we try to burn something, we need to supply oxygen also. If the material takes the oxygen, then it undergoes a chemical reaction that generates a bond with the oxygen. So that is what is called fire. But in this case, see, all these silicones, they were completely taken the oxygen. If we want to add any more oxygens, it is not possible for us to add any more oxygens to the silicones. If oxygens cannot be added to a material, then it cannot be burned. Similarly, carbon dioxide, whenever we burn some carbon materials, we generate carbon dioxide. But if you want to try to burn the carbon dioxide itself, it is not possible, right? So we cannot burn carbon dioxide. Why? Carbon dioxide takes the 2 carbons, so that is the maximum oxygens that can be bonded to carbon. So that's it. Carbon dioxide cannot be burned further. But carbon monoxide, yes, carbon monoxide can be burned, right? Carbon monoxide can be burned because it has only one oxygen. There is a possibility for the carbon to bind with one more oxygen. Similarly, in silicon also, they were completely saturated with oxygen, and further addition of oxygen is not possible. So that is why they don't catch fire. So that is the technology behind cables which don't catch fire. Okay. Now, in case if they do break down, they do not produce conducting materials like carbon does. When we use carbon materials which are non-conductive, which cannot be burned, but still under certain extreme conditions like high temperatures and high pressures, sometimes carbon compounds will break down. That means they will undergo decomposition to get graphite sheets. Whenever we heat some carbon materials, they will generate graphite, right? What is graphite? Graphite is a conducting material, and it is also possible to burn the graphite further. So when carbon compounds do break, they'll produce conducting materials. But when silicones break down under extreme conditions, they do not produce conducting materials. So that is the advantage of using silicones. Silicones will resist the temperatures up to 200 or 300 degrees centigrade. But if we still heat it some to more than 300 degrees centigrade, then they will break down, but they don't produce conducting materials. They are resistant to heat, oxidation, and most chemicals. Why it is resistant to oxidation, heat, I have explained. Oxidation, addition of oxygen. Is there any possibility to add more oxygens? No. Then it will not undergo oxidation, and it is also resistant to most of the chemicals. Why? Why? Because silicon forms the strongest bond with fluorine, then the next strongest bond is with oxygen. So if we add any chemical which does not have fluorine, then silicones will not react. Why? Silicon can only form a strong bond with fluorine, which is more strong than compared to oxygen, but any other element will not form strong bond such as silicon oxygen bond. So that is why silicones will not react with any chemicals other than which are having fluorine. So that is the reason why we cannot store fluorine reagents like HF or any other fluorine reagents in glass vials. What is glass? Glass is nothing but silicate. Glass is nothing but silicate. So if we store fluorine reagents in the glass bottle, what happens? The fluorine will react with the silicon in the glass so that it will undergo damage. So that is why we don't store fluorine reagents in a glass vial. Fluorine reagents are generally stored in plastic vials, and they are strongly water repellent and have non-stick properties and anti-foaming properties. So they are hydrophobic in nature. So that is why they are mostly applied in non-sticky applications or electrical insulation applications or heat resistant applications or fire resistant applications. So Havells produced whites that do not catch fire, right? I expect you all might have seen that ad. What are silicates? Why do we need to learn silicates? 95% of the earth crust, it is filled with silicates. 95% of the earth is made up of silicates. What are silicates? Rock is a form of silicate. Sand is a form of silicate. Granite is a form of silicate. Slates, bricks, cement, these are all different forms of silicates. Glass, and finally ceramic materials. These are all different forms of silicate materials. What is silicate? Silicate is nothing but silica, SiO2, or silicate, SiO4 2 minus. In its neutral form, we can say silica, or in its negatively charged form, we call it as silicate. What is silicate structure? Silicon is sp3 hybridized. So it is having a tetrahedral structure. 2 oxygens in the plane, 1 oxygen above the plane, another oxygen below the plane. So we will have a tetrahedral structure. In order to represent long polymers of silicates, representing in this tetrahedral form is little difficult. So for this, what we will do, we will represent this with only oxygens. These two are these oxygens. This is frontline oxygen, and this is backside oxygen. So it is represented like this. Now the silicon atom is represented with a dot in the middle. Silicon atom is represented with a dot in the middle. So to highlight the structure, I am drawing this dotted line. It is not actual bond. This is to just show you the structure. Now, in order to represent this silicate in a simple form, we use this notation. We use this notation. So silicon is in sp3 hybridization. Now, When we look at the bonding nature in this material, you know, electronegativity of silicon is 1.7, oxygen is 3.5. When we take the electronegativity difference, it is 3.5 minus 1.7, it is almost 1.7. Electronegativity difference is 1.7. So based on this value, we can say it is 50% ionic and 50% it is covalent. So based on the electronegativity difference, we can say silicates are 50% ionic and 50% covalent in nature.